Poland, that noble realm which, in the 12th century, decided that unity was overrated. Here we behold the High Dukes of Poland, a title meant to impose order upon the Piast brood. Alas, the Piasts responded as Piasts do, by multiplying titles, quarrels, and duchies until the map resembled a shattered reliquary. Kraków was the senior seat, yes, but seniority without supremacy is merely an invitation to argument. And in 1138, Bolesław III's carefully considered testament ensured that argument would become a permanent feature of Polish life. Let us begin with Kraków, the jewel of Lesser Poland, and the supposed throne of the senior duke. The High Duke was meant to arbitrate disputes, coordinate defense, and maintain the dignity of the realm. Instead, he spent most of his time reminding his brothers that he was the High Duke, and they spent most of theirs ignoring him. The arrangement worked tolerably well, and only when the High Duke had an army large enough to encourage obedience, which is to say, rarely. Now Bolesław III Wrymouth, a man of many virtues and one catastrophic idea, divided his lands among his sons. He imagined a harmonious federation of Piast princes, each content with his allotted share. In sooth, what he created was a seniorate system so fragile that a stiff breeze could have undone it. Every son received a duchy. Every duchy became hereditary. Every hereditary claim became a pretext for rebellion. Thus Poland entered its age of cartographic confetti, as later scribes would lament, or would have, had they my gift for phrasing. The initial division produced four principal duchies: the seniorate around Kraków, Greater Poland, Masovia, and Silesia. Each was ruled by a Piast, who believed himself no less legitimate than the High Duke, and often more competent. The brothers quarreled, schemed, and occasionally allied, though never for long. It was a family arrangement in the same way that a pack of wolves is a family. Related, yes, but not necessarily cooperative. Silesia, that fertile and fractious land, was the first to crack. In 1173 it split into Lower and Upper Silesia, each with its own ambitions and grievances. The Silesian Piast proved especially fond of partitioning. By 1177, Głogów had emerged as yet another branch on the ever-multiplying family tree. One might say that Silesia pioneered the art of dynastic mitosis, a process that continued long after our 12th century horizon. Greater Poland, not to be outdone, fractured in 1191 with the creation of the Duchy of Kalisz. Poznan and Kalisz drifted apart like siblings who no longer share a table at feast days. Each duke claimed the legacy of the early Piasts. Each insisted he was the rightful heir to the old kingdom. And naturally, each refused to acknowledge the other's pretensions. Thus the western lands became a duet of competing ambitions. Masovia, meanwhile, occupied the northern marches, a land of forests, rivers, and neighbors who preferred raiding to diplomacy. The Dukes of Masovia were hardy men, accustomed to defending their borders and ignoring Kraków's directives. Though the later split into Płock lies beyond our century, the seeds of that division were already sown in the 12th. Masovia was a duchy that obeyed the High Duke only when the High Duke happened to be standing nearby. And then there's Pomerelia, Gdansk and its Baltic winds. By 1155 it stood as an independent duchy, sometimes aligned with Poland, sometimes drifting toward its own designs. The Piasts never fully mastered the coast. The sea has a way of encouraging independence. Pomerelia reminds us that Poland's fragmentation was not merely internal, the peripheries had wills of their own. Why did the Piast divide their lands so relentlessly? Because custom demanded that each son receive a portion, and custom is a tyrant more stubborn than any king. Every duchy begat another duchy. Every inheritance begat another quarrel. By the 13th century, Poland resembled a mosaic assembled by a glazier who had dropped his tiles and swept them up without sorting. But the roots of that chaos lie firmly in our 12th century tale. In the end, the high dukes failed because the system was designed for failure. They possessed seniority but not supremacy, authority but not enforcement, dignity but not dominion. Their brothers commanded armies, lands, and ambitions of their own. A single throne cannot govern a dynasty that insists on multiplying itself into a dozen. Thus the High Duke became less a ruler and more a referee, and a weary one at that. From Poland's shards and princely feud, we sail to Anjou's rising brood.